let's do one example now of this particular format that I have given to you to read. So how to read? Let's start with it. Okay, so now that we are aware of how to read, let us now simulate a situation. Now I'm going to tell you how to skim. So the most important way to start your process is by looking at the titles and subheadings. The title and subheadings give you an opportunity to understand what could be in the passage. So likewise, all the articles that you'll come across in IELTS or in any passage will have a title. Some may even have a subheading also. So let's read this title and let's find out what is the understanding that you'll get. Now, the dynamic continent. 3 words, the dynamic continent. So, if I wish to ask, what does this mean? Can you give me an answer? Now, there are 3 words, the dynamic continent. So, the continent suggests that we are talking about a continent. Do you know how many continents are there? Yeah, 7 continents. So, which could be the dynamic continent? Now, in order to understand what could be dynamic continent, you should know the meaning of dynamic. Yes, got it right. Dynamic, something that keeps changing. So, we are talking about a continent that keeps changing. So, which continents keep changing? Europe, America, Australia, Africa, Asia, Antarctica? Which one? Let's find out. Now, some articles may have a subheading also. So let's look at the subheading which says the constantly changing landscape of Antarctica is a challenge to cartographers. What are cartographers? Cartographers are people that make maps. So now you know your suspense is over. What was that dynamic continent? That was Antarctica. And what could they be talking about in this passage? The constantly changing landscape of Antarctica is a challenge to cartographers. Cartographers are people who make maps. So generally ask these questions from yourself, that what is the article about? Well, the article is about Antarctica. And what kind of person would be interested in reading this article? Okay, now people who visit Antarctica, people who are interested in geography, and people who make maps. Now, what do you expect to read about in the first paragraph? Of course, we are going to read about Antarctica and the challenges that the cartographers have to face when it comes to making maps of Antarctica. So this is our guess actually. Let us read the paragraph and find out if our assumptions are correct or not. Now I'll read it for you. Let's see how it goes. In most areas of the world, certainly in Europe, both the physical landscape and the maps of it are relatively stable. So they are saying that in Europe, in world, and specifically they are talking about Europe, that the landscape is what you see. So the landscape and the maps are stable, relatively same, no change. And then the writer goes on and says map revision is usually concerned with man-made features such as buildings and roads. So they say whenever a map is to be revised, it is because of man-made features. Either you add a building or you make new roads, so then you have to put them on the map. But they say this is not true for Antarctica. Why? Because the Antarctic ice sheet is a dynamic entity. and cartographers have to contend with big and rapid changes in the physical geography of the continent. So they are saying this is not true. The stability of map in landscape and map is not true for Antarctica. Why? Because the Antarctic ice is a dynamic entity. It keeps changing. And the cartographers have to face difficult changes. They have to contend with big and rapid. Rapid means something that happens very quickly. Rapid changes in the physical geography of the continent. And now they are giving you an example of that rapid change. For example, earlier this year they faced the dramatic breakup of They faced the dramatic breakup of the Larsen and Prince Gustav ice shelves in the Antarctic Peninsula region, and this is the region which is where the British Antarctic Survey concentrates its mapping activity. And then the writer goes on and says, topographic maps are probably changing faster in Antarctica than anywhere else in the world. So this is the paragraph, and this is introducing the topic, the dynamic continent. Now, what is the writer's purpose in the first paragraph? Well, what is the writer's purpose in the first paragraph that you need to know? Basically, if I were you, I would say that map provision is usually concerned with man. So he's talking about why maps are to be revised. And then he is talking about what kind of changes occur in Antarctica. Then there is another question which says, is there a sentence that best summarizes the main idea in the first paragraph? Just go back to a few minutes when I was giving you the layout of the paragraph. I told you that the last sentence of the paragraph normally sums up your paragraph, the topic being discussed in the paragraph. So let's have a look at the last sentence and see what it is saying. It is saying topographic maps are probably changing faster in Antarctica than anywhere else in the world. So isn't it the sentence that best summarizes the paragraph? Yes, it does. So by just, we tried to give you various aspects. First, we showed you the title and requested you to make assume what could be in the paragraph. Then we gave you a subheading also that clarified that we were talking about Antarctica. And then we read the paragraph. So actually start developing your habits of assumptions by reading titles, subheadings, first and last sentences of paragraph. So whenever we are skimming, we read title and subheading, and now I have just proved that by reading titles and subheadings you can have an understanding of what is going to come in the paragraph. So titles and subheadings explain to you. Did you get it? Yeah, you got it. Okay, thank you so much. Okay, you can repeat and review it again if you wish to. Now let's move on.